Thanks for checking out the video. Going to be going over Tasha's Cauldron today. Now, I did just get my copy in yesterday, so this is more of an impressions. I have read through the content, and all I want to talk about today is what's actually in here, who should buy it, and is it even any good? Is it worth the full asking MSRP price of the US price, I believe, is $49.95, and Canadian it's $69.95. Have you purchased this book? Have you read it already? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments. Now, before we actually open this book up, I just want to get into some of my final thoughts and who I would actually recommend this book for. In terms of DMs, if you're the type of DM that is happy to stay that is very self-sufficient with the content and mechanics that you provide your players, is this book necessary? Definitely not. There are some nice mechanics that are provided in here, like say the patron, because the patron goes beyond just divine, it goes into like guilds, things like that. I think the magical phenomena and regional effect mechanics and references are nice to have. So if you're the type of DM that likes to reference everything and pull as many published mechanics out as you can, I think it's a good purchase. So again, if you're a DM that prefers to stay self-sufficient, definitely not necessary. If you're a DM that wants to reference every little nerdy note you can, I think it's good for that. In terms of players, if you're the type of player that you're keeping up with all the Unearthed Arcana, or that you just want to know every single kind of archetype that's coming out, you want to know your possible avenues for your character, you're looking at min-maxing, you want to know the new magic items that are coming out, new spells, then yeah, I think it's a great purchase. It's very comparable to Xanathar's Guide, obviously, half of the book being dedicated to player options and feats, while the other half is more DM options, so they try to kind of hit both markets that way. Now, if you're the type of player that you're happy with your avenue, you're taking it game by game, you're not trying to, plan out your path for your character, you're not keeping up with all the new archetypes, is this necessary? Definitely not. You can just borrow it off your DM, reference it when you need to, but this is definitely not a mandatory purchase as a player. If I was a player, though, and I had this book along with Xanathar's and the handbook, I would be very happy. I think there's a lot of great player content within just this Tasha's as well as Xanathar's together. But that being said, would I recommend this book? I like it a lot. I like the mechanics that are provided for the DM. I'm somebody that wants to reference all the mechanics that I can. I love all the new subclasses that are provided. I like the volume of magic items that are provided as well. So I think it's a good purchase. But enough of that. Let's actually crack into the book and start going through the content section by section. So getting right into it, we're going to be going to the credits page first. And yeah, sorry about my camera, guys, working on the focus. But in the credits, you can see that lead designer is Jeremy Crawford, art direction by Kate Irwin, and both always do fantastic job. Love the products. But getting right into the contents, you can see the majority of the contents are class options, a little bit on feats. That section's on the group Patreons, and then we get right into the new magic spells and new magic items. Final chapter being on the Dungeon Master tools. Alright, again, it's just continuing on to the intro, how this book is used, and a little bit of lore behind Tasha. And then it gets straight into the character options. Now, it does provide actually a good chunk of the Artificer and the different subclasses that comes with it. Now, this class was originally provided in the Eberron campaign guide, so it's not a bad idea that, not everybody went out and purchased that campaign guide, and I think there are some people that do want to play this class in a more traditional Forgotten Realms universe. Now we're actually getting into the subclasses. You can see that it's got the Barbarians. The Wild Magic Barbarian subclass looks very interesting. Bards, I'm just so out of the loop with Bards altogether. The subclass I'm familiar with in the Cleric domain is the Twilight domain, which is very interesting, especially with how you're controlling light and darkness. God, I love the artwork in this book. Really... Kate Irwin just kills it every time, man. The art direction is so good. The new fighter subclasses are very interesting, especially since it introduces the Rune Knight. Rune Knight has a lot of different options to it. Monks I'm very unfamiliar with. Did they include the Way of the Ascendant Dragon? I don't think they did. No, they did not. I'm going to have to do some homework. And finally getting into some of the Ranger subclasses. I know they included the Swarm Ranger subclass, which is kind of interesting. I think of just being surrounded by bugs all the time. That's kind of the theme, narratively thematic. Rogue has the new Soul Blade archetype, which I understand is fairly powerful. The new Genie Warlock subclass is very interesting as well. I think that's well worth taking a further look at as well. And finally, just wrapping up into the new provided feats page. Now, I believe there's about 2 or 3 pages provided for feats, so that's always a handy for players. So that's, again, half of this book meant for players in that direction with the subclasses and the new feats. Now we're getting straight into the group patrons. Now, what I think is interesting with the group patrons is that they not only include for, like, say, gods and cults, but also for, say, like, if you're in part of a guild. So it gives you lots of, basically, the majority of the charts are a lot of different quest ideas. So now at this point, we are getting into page 105. This is all the new magic spells and magic items. You can see they actually do include a lot of new... Oh, that jumped right ahead to the magic items. But something in the spells that I really like is they did include a lot of new conjuration spells. So a lot of summoning, a lot of new monsters and creatures to summon. Those are the new Fey and Shadowfell crystals, which a friend was telling me, and very interested about those shards. Those can be applied to items. And as you can see, we're going to be getting into the actual companions. Now the companions, so this is chapter 4, getting into Dungeon Master's tools. Good old picture. There's a nice, awesome artwork of Tasha and Mordecai and actually going at it. There's the new companions tables. Now, companions you can think of is basically you're going to be having a companion, obviously, or the sidekick, I should say. And all the creatures basically have to be a challenge rating of half. But they level up, they have different abilities and perks. I think it's definitely an interesting addition. Now, this section is probably one of my favorites. It's the supernatural regions and magical phenomena. So it gives you a lot of different mechanics depending on what regions your player characters may be in. God, the mimicry area, that is insane, dude. I can't, yeah, anyways. So the final chapter provides information on new puzzles, puzzle handouts, natural hazards, and these are all things that can really easily be implemented into your own homebrew. So yeah, not bad, but that's the book. I just wanted to keep it short, just kind of blaze through the content so you have an idea of what's actually provided. Like I say, very similar idea to Xanathar's Guide, as they're trying to get something, a little bit of everything for players as well as DMs. In terms of DM tools, I really do like the supernatural region and magical phenomenon mechanics that are provided, as well as I'm actually more of a fan of the group patrons than I thought I would be, especially since it provides information for, say, like guild, military force, and some of my players are involved in those type of factions. So it's definitely not just for like religious god, deity, warlock kind of idea. So I think that's great. So again, great book if you're wanting to keep up with the new classes and the new spells, lots of new magic items. So it just depends, man. I think there's D&D players that are happy with, tried and true, what they got going. They're happy with their avenue. But if you're just a big fan of all the content and you're trying to keep up with everything that you can, then you probably already have this book. Anyways, thanks for checking out the video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't, so I know to do better for next time. And have a good one.